Captain Alex Kane adjusted the power cell on his pulse rifle. His gaze swept across the training grid. Holographic targets flickered in and out of existence. He moved with practiced ease. Years of combat training had honed his reflexes to a razor's edge. The rhythmic hiss of the training grid filled the sterile white room. His boots thumped against the metallic floor. Alex was a soldier of the 24th century. He served in the Earth Defense Force, protecting humanity from interstellar threats. He was the best there was. His skills were unmatched. He deactivated the training grid. The holographic targets dissolved into motes of light. Silence descended, heavy and absolute. A bead of sweat trickled down his temple. Suddenly the air shimmered. A blue light pulsed in the center of the room, growing in intensity. A figure materialized within the light. The figure wore a dark hooded robe. It raised its head, revealing the weathered face of an old man. He had a long white beard and piercing blue eyes. His hands, gnarled with age, clutched a staff topped with a glowing crystal.
"Who are you?" Alex demanded, his voice echoing in the silent room. "How did you get in here?"
"I am Morgrim," the old man said, his voice raspy with age. "A traveler between worlds, a seeker of aid in times of dire need."
"This is a secure facility. No one just travels in here. I need your help."
Alex lowered his rifle slightly, his curiosity piqued.
"What kind of help could a soldier like me possibly offer a wizard?"
Morgrim smiled sadly.
"You possess the strength, the cunning, and the courage to face the darkness that threatens to consume us. I can sense it within you."
He pointed his staff at the floor. The blue light intensified, swirling faster.
"The princess of a distant land has been kidnapped, taken by a powerful sorcerer. I need your help to rescue her."
"A princess? Sorcery? You're talking about fairy tales, old man," Alex said, though a sliver of doubt crept into his mind.
"This is no fairy tale, Captain. This is real. Step through this rift, Captain, and see for yourself."
Alex hesitated, his training screaming at him to run. But something in Morgrim's eyes, a desperate plea, made him lower his weapon. Taking a deep breath, he stepped through the portal. The world dissolved into a dizzying kaleidoscope of colors and sounds. Then, just as suddenly, it solidified. Alex found himself standing on the edge of a rice paddy. Lush green fields stretched out before him, bathed in the golden glow of the setting sun. He looked around in astonishment. He was in another world, another time. Feudal Japan, if his history lesson served him right. He felt a strange mix of apprehension and excitement.
"Welcome, Captain, to the province of Yamashiro. We have much to do and little time to do it."
Morgrim stepped out of the portal, which shimmered and vanished behind him. He regarded Alex with a grave expression. They set off down a narrow dirt road, heading towards a cluster of houses in the distance. The villagers stopped what they were doing to stare at the strange newcomers. They whispered among themselves, their eyes wide with fear and curiosity. Alex couldn't understand their language, but he could understand the fear in their eyes. They reached a small village nestled at the foot of a towering mountain. Mount Hakurai, Morgrim called it. The villagers, dressed in simple robes, eyed Alex's futuristic attire with a mixture of awe and trepidation.
"Where are we going?" "To the sorcerer's lair. It is a fortress of darkness, high atop Mount Hakurai. That is where Princess Aiko is being held captive."
Their journey was fraught with danger. They traversed dense forests teeming with unknown creatures. They crossed treacherous mountain passes, the air growing thin and cold. Alex fought with a ferocity that surprised even himself. One day, their path was blocked by a band of heavily armed bandits. They were led by a towering brute of a man with a cruel scar across his face. He called himself Yama, the Bandit King.
"Leave your weapons and belongings, and the old man can go free, but the stranger stays. We could use a man like you in our ranks."
Alex glanced at Morgrim, who simply shook his head. They both knew surrender wasn't an option. Alex had a princess to save, and a timeline to protect.
"I'm afraid I have a strict no joining bandit gangs policy."
Yama laughed, a harsh, grating sound.
"You're in our world now, and you'll play by our rules."
The battle was swift and brutal. Alex's pulse rifle made short work of the bandits' crude weapons. But Yama was a skilled warrior, his axe whistling through the air with deadly precision. He managed to deflect several energy blasts, his eyes burning with rage. As Alex fought, he could sense Morgrim chanting under his breath. The air crackled with an unseen energy.
Suddenly, a bolt of lightning shot down from the sky, striking Yama's axe with a deafening crack.
The Bandit King cried out in pain as the shockwave sent him flying backwards. Before the remaining bandits could recover, Morgrim unleashed another torrent of magic. Tendrils of energy wrapped around the bandits, lifting them into the air and tossing them aside like rag dolls. Yama scrambled to his feet, his eyes wide with fear.
What sorcery is this? Who are you? We are the last hope of this land, and you will stand aside or face the consequences.
Yama, his bravado gone, turned and fled into the forest, his men following close behind. Alex watched them go, his heart pounding in his chest. They continued their journey, the shadow of Mount Hakurai looming ever closer. Alex knew that a far greater challenge awaited them at the summit. They finally reached the Sorcerer's Fortress. It was a menacing structure of dark stone, perched precariously atop the mountain. Jagged peaks clawed at the sky, as if trying to grasp the heavens. An unnatural silence hung in the air, broken only by the mournful cry of a distant bird.
This is it, the lair of Kurogane.
They crept through the shadows, their senses on high alert. The fortress was eerily quiet, as if waiting for them. They had to move quickly before Kurogane sensed their presence. They slipped past silent guards clad in black armor. They navigated labyrinthine corridors lit by flickering torches. The air grew heavy with the stench of sulfur and decay. Alex could feel a malevolent presence watching their every move. As they approached the princess's chamber, they were ambushed by Kurogane's warriors. These were no ordinary soldiers. They moved with unnatural speed and agility, their eyes glowing with an eerie red light. Alex's pulse rifle was useless against them. He switched to his combat knife, the familiar weight reassuring in his hand. Alex ducked under a flaming sword, rolling to avoid a blast of fire. He came up behind a warrior, driving his knife into the weak spot at the base of its skull. The warrior crumpled to the ground, its fiery glow fading into nothingness. He turned to face the remaining warriors, his chest heaving, his muscles screaming for respite. He knew he couldn't keep this up for much longer. He had underestimated Kurogane's forces. Suddenly, the ground shook beneath their feet. The air crackled with energy. A booming voice echoed through the chamber.
You dare trespass in my domain, mortals?
A figure materialized before them. It was Kurogane, the sorcerer. He was tall and imposing, clad in flowing black robes. His eyes, burning like hot coals, bored into them with chilling intensity. He raised his hand, and Alex felt a surge of energy slam into him, throwing him against a wall. He gasped for breath, pain lancing through his body. Morgrim stood protectively in front of Alex, his staff raised high.
You will not have them, Kurogane. Your reign of terror ends now.
A blinding light filled the chamber as Morgrim unleashed the full force of his magic. Kurogane countered with a wave of dark energy. The two forces collided in a blinding explosion of light and sound. Alex, struggling to his feet, knew this was his chance. He drew his last weapon, a plasma grenade, and charged into the maelstrom of battle. He could barely see through the swirling chaos, but he could sense Kurogane's presence, a dark void in the center of the storm. He pulled the pin on the grenade and hurled it towards the void. The explosion was deafening. The chamber shook violently, threatening to collapse in on itself. When the dust settled, Alex saw Kurogane lying on the ground, his body broken and smoldering. Morgrim collapsed beside him, gasping for breath, his face pale with exhaustion. Alex staggered over to the princess's chamber. He found Princess Aiko bound and gagged, her eyes wide with terror. He quickly freed her, his heart swelling with relief. With the princess safe, Morgrim opened a portal back to Alex's time. As he stepped through the shimmering gateway, he glanced back at the princess and the wizard, their faces etched with gratitude and newfound hope. He returned to his own time a changed man, echoes of a time and place far removed from his own.